Hello everyone and welcome to another Q&A session at WordCamp India Online 2021. You just witnessed the session, Intro to the GraphQL API for WordPress by one of the experts and someone who possesses substantial amount of knowledge in GraphQL, Leonardo Losoviz. So Leonardo's ongoing quest to bring innovative paradigm to WordPress continues with WordCamp India here today at the second day and the third weekend that we're on with. So Leonardo, let's begin with the first question. So the first question is, the hosting provider support GraphQL. Will it be provided by the hosting provider, or do we need to manage it on our own? Are you still there, Leonardo?
Okay.
Hey, so the question, as you can see in the screen, the support, is it coming from the hosting provider or do we need to manage on our own? Apologies, viewers. I think we're having a little bit of
can you hear me?
But Leo, if you can see the question in the screen, you can answer it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good. Okay. So this is pure WordPress. So in a way, it's a plugin. You install the plugin. If you have your own server, then you download the plugin and you install it on your own server. There is no special configuration needed, no special requirements. So it's just standard WordPress.
Awesome. So that's really good, and I think that's a good sign, positive sign for people who are willing to dive into GraphQL. Let's move into the next question. So how extensible is it compared to WP REST API? So Leo, do a comparison between the REST API and GraphQL in terms of extensions.
It's equally extensible. In both cases, you need to program it. So if you want to add an extension for your own plugin or for your own custom post type, you can do it. It's PHP code at the end of the day. Yeah, so it's the same.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely you covered it quite extensively in your presentation. How different is it from REST? And you also mentioned how we are supposed to use it with WordPress. So the next question is multilingual search supported in GraphQL?
It is. GraphQL is just an interface to access the data that you have on your site. So if you have data on any language, you want to search for data on some language, but you can do it in WordPress. Possibly you cannot do it either. So GraphQL is a new way to access the data that WordPress is already giving you. So whatever you can do in WordPress, if you can search one, you can do it also through GraphQL.
Okay, so I think there is a little bit of technical delay, but still I take your word for it that it's multilingual search is there. So we will try to have extensive discussion on this topic in the extended QA that we have in the Zoom. So let's dive into the next question. How can you create the security aspect, or how do we secure the API for GraphQL?
Okay, awesome question. So GraphQL is possibly unsafe if you do not take care of it, because with GraphQL you have a single endpoint where you can access all of the data that you have on your site, on your web server, all of it. Basically, anything that you have made available for your own website is now suddenly available for everyone, for the whole world. And that is an issue. So I was actually quite worried about this. And what I did, at least on my plugin on the GraphQL API for WordPress, is to have several security measures. The first one is that the single endpoint that I was talking about is disabled by default. And why is it disabled by default? Because you can access the data through persistent queries. Actually, I spent like 5 to 10 minutes, maybe, I don't know how much time, talking about persistent queries on the presentation.
Yeah.
Because they're fast, they're also secure, they're safe, because you're publishing the data that you want to expose and nothing else. So if you manage to publish your data through persistent queries, you can disable the single endpoint. So that is the first one. Now, if you do want to have an endpoint to query data freely, you can create access control lists. And in access control, you can define who can access the data field by field. So I also showed that in the presentation. You can say the email, like the user's email, only the admin can access it and nobody else. So then this is another aspect that you can say who can access the data based on roles and based on capabilities, or based on the user being logged in or not. And finally, this is the same with custom endpoints. So the idea is that you can create, instead of having a single endpoint, which is standard GraphQL, you can create multiple endpoints, and you can give different endpoints to different users or different applications. And then once again, because an endpoint is a custom post type, you can use any plugin that can validate access to custom post type, or this is like this is like normal WordPress functionality that you can limit access to a certain custom post type. And so then, maybe your client has access to the specific custom post type that you create for your client and nobody else. So then you provide security measures like this. So in other words, this is actually quite clear. You have to do it, but it's pretty safe actually.
No, that's really assuring. But then again, at the same time, it's very interesting to know about the aspects that is there. At the same time, I urge viewers who are joining us for the live Q&A, you can post your questions in the YouTube chat field, and one of our admins will publish it here for our sake. Next question, Leonardo. Why is GraphQL API for WordPress plugin not officially available in the WordPress plugins list? And also, the person says this plugin is awesome.
Thank you. Until recently, it was because I needed to scope my plugin. So that was a technical thing that I had to do. Basically, I'm using many third-party libraries. I'm using Symfony. I'm doing actually a lot of Symfony. Dependency injection from Symfony, caching from Symfony, and a few others. I'm also using Google for connecting to third-party APIs. And I needed to scope all of these things, all of these third-party libraries. I just did it, like I finished it like around 10 days ago. So only now I have the technical ability to do it, and I plan to do it soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, now I can do it. If I do it or not, that's another matter. But yeah, now I can do it, and I hope I will do it quite soon.
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite fascinating, and you taking initiative is also very promising for people who are being benefited from this presentation. Here's my question to you, Leonardo. What is there in the future for people who wants to know more about GraphQL? Where does the sky, where does the limit hold?
Oh, there is no limit. So now I can talk a bit about, there are two plugins for GraphQL. You have WP GraphQL, which is the standard plugin. Everyone knows about that. And then you have this plugin that I'm demonstrating today that nobody knows about this except all of you guys who are watching my presentation.
Absolutely.
So what is the benefit of each of these two plugins? Can you use this or can you use the other one? The response is, in theory, yes, but in practice, they are still opinionated. So WP GraphQL is quite targeted to static site generators. Gatsby. Jason Ball was working for Gatsby, now he's working for WP Engine. So it's geared towards static site generators. In my case, you can also do static site generator, but I was giving it a lot of power to communicate with cloud-based services, with external APIs. So what I want to do is that you have a GraphQL service that is the center of your WordPress universe. So then you have your WordPress site, and via GraphQL, you can communicate with everything and with everyone. Twitter, Slack, or Facebook, or Google Translate, or anything you want. So then this is more useful for live services, possibly. Once again, this is not this or that. But the power is that now you have WordPress in the center of the cloud. You can have it in the center of an ecosystem, and your WordPress site communicates with everything and with everyone through one single interface, which is GraphQL. So it makes it simple. It makes it very easy to communicate with other systems.
Absolutely, that's really, like it's creating boundaries and possibilities that you might not have a thought of. So my next question, again, this is coming from me personally, for someone who is new to contributing to WordPress, or someone who's a new developer, if they want to dive into GraphQL, what would be your advice to them?
So there is a website called GraphQL.org. It's pretty good. It has a lot of documentation from the very basics, so you can understand how to create queries. You can understand what is a schema. We're talking all the time about the GraphQL schema, which is a new concept. We're talking about types, fields, directives. All of this information is very well explained. There's another website called howtographql.com that it gives you a bit more in detail how to develop with GraphQL. So that is the next step. And then the following step is use the plugin and play with it and experiment with it. In my own website, so my website is graphqlapi.com. I am slowly creating a section called guides. And the idea is to demonstrate all of the things that you can do. Then you go to the client, install the plugin, play with it. And as you play with it, you will understand the possibilities that you can actually, that is opening up.
Right. So I think it's important for our viewers to know that graphql.org is a resource site that you can use to learn more and dive deep into it. Plus, in order to find the resources that Leonardo is using, you can go to graphqlapi.com. Am I right about the information, Leo?
Yeah, that's right. That's very right.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's wrap it up by just going to this particular point, that you should doing a demonstration today on how it can help improve the overall WordPress experience. Let me ask you this final question. Again, this is coming from me. So Leo, what can we expect from you should you present another talk regards GraphQL in the next few WordCamps that you're attending? Anything on the pipeline?
To be honest, I hope that people will start using the plugin, and that then I can answer specific queries on how do we do this, how do we do that. Once again, GraphQL is a new field. People have to learn it. It's not difficult, but at the beginning they will be like, I'm a bit confused. So I want to do that. I want to actually work. I want to get my hands dirty. Instead of talking about the theory, to demonstrate the plugin, let's solve a problem together. Basically, that's what I would like.
Right. And the important part that you said, that people needs to just start playing with it. The more you play with it, the more possibilities and areas of improvement that you can point out. So I want to remind our viewers that you can catch Leonardo right after this live Q&A in one of the breakout rooms using Zoom when Leonardo is available there. So Leonardo, your final thoughts about WordCamp India overall, having this particular WordCamp over 3 weekends, starting with workshops and then contributor days, and then finally having the day when WordCamp gets to the traditional talks. What are your feelings and how do you think this is going to shape the virtual WordCamps in the future? Just your personal opinion, if you may, please.
I think WordCamp India was very well organized. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed recording the video. You might have noticed I have a different t-shirt because not now, and that gave me a lot of. I was very relaxed. It was very pleasure. It was a lot of pleasure. However, I hope that this is the last time that you do it online, because I really want to start meeting people again. Like, this is a backup solution after all. It's an awesome backup solution, but it's still a backup solution. Let's hope that we will meet again together.
Let us all hope together in a collective way and pray that the world can become healthy again so that we can meet in person and the virtual essence of WordCamp can stay as a backup that it is today. So I want to thank you, Leonardo, Losoviz, for your time, your contribution to WordPress, and demonstrating how GraphQL can also be a source where you can definitely improve the overall performance, overall experience of WordPress. So thank you once again for joining us for this live Q&A, despite being so far away, yet so close. So Leonardo, any final thoughts? Anything you want to mention to the viewers? Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
just talk to me, guys. I'm always reachable, and I get too excited with these things. There's no pressure to send me an email, send me a direct message on Twitter. I love WordPress. I love GraphQL. If you're working with these technologies, let's work together.
Those are really nice. That's a really nice gesture from you, Leonardo. So I once again encourage attendees to join the Zoom breakout room. We are in track 2, so please come join track 2 Q&A, where Leonardo will be there and I'll be there, and we can answer extended question answer that you may have. So that is that's it from the session Intro to the GraphQL API for WordPress. Question answer live by Leonardo Losoviz and myself, Ahmed Chayan. Bye-bye, guys.